last 10 years I've been creating very large-scale woven works. During this time has always been natural materials, predominantly willow. With this piece for Blink, it's actually a magnificent opportunity for me to further the use of another material. So it's made of two materials, metal and polypropylene ribbon. So you've got this man-made, highly coloured material mixed in with this strong and curvaceous, drawn-out frame. This is polypropylene ribbon, and it's got a nice tension to it. It's nice and strong. You get a sense of where it ought to go after a while. I want it to appear fairly random, but there is a logic and a sense to it. It's like it's dancing around before it gets tied in forever. I wanted to have two forms which reached together, which connected the buildings on the outside to the centre of the market square. So this big form points and pulls towards the piece on the building. Apart from the fact that it's been welded at certain points, it's essentially been made by hand, using huge, long, sort of 6-metre bar and drawing out the form almost like pencil sketches in the air, really. I mean, a lot of my work has been about nests and cocoons, mostly because those objects are made purely because of that interior space. So whilst this is a great big form that sits in the middle of the market square and you look at it, you can also get in it and look through it, which is a really important part of the work. The whole form, I'm hoping, is going to feel as if it's really light. You look up to it and the sky should sort of fall into the weave in a way. It's almost got a character of a transparent mosaic because all these lines break up the sky as you look at it, but you can still see through it.
I've become very interested in the notion of the handmade object and where it exists in the industrial system of mass production and supply. And so for Northampton Festival I wanted to try and encapsulate that in a single object. The objects will be boiled and formed around sort of archetypes of mass production. Because the process is expensive and difficult and unpredictable, it's mainly sold in galleries, bought by people who either collect art or design. So the Northampton project is the first opportunity to make objects using the same process, which will be available to everybody for a couple of quid. It's all about contrasts and juxtapositions, you know, using a luxury material to make something that's normally rendered cheap in plastic. So a lot of the preparation for actually boiling an object is quite lengthy, going through every step, you know, what can happen, what do I think the material will do, how will it behave. You know, I kind of soak them in just regular water so they become more pliable and it enables the heat to penetrate the fibres more easily. Then I form the wet leather around the wooden block, put leather in and take it out, and that's it. The boiling itself is the quickest part of the process. It's always interesting to see what happens because often I have something in mind and when you actually come to do it, the leather doesn't behave the way you think it will or it doesn't shrink in the way you think it will. So there's always an element of surprise. Well, these are a couple of bowls that I did some tests on from the pound shop. And I quite like this one because this has like the reverse imprint underneath the plastic bowl. It's got really weird properties when it's like this. It's somewhere between timber and plastic, and then you can sand it so it goes incredibly smooth, like polished walnut or something. But at the same time, it's you know, it's quite brittle. But the fact that this is cowskin, it's just sort of inconceivable that you have to saw it. When I wrote the proposal, I wrote all these words, and you know, the project's going to be about mass production and industry and craft, and it's like, okay, God, now I've got to make 400 pieces, which is daunting, so I'll have to make some kind of production line and mass produce the objects here. So it's a really interesting development and exercise for me. the vending machine itself, it's not really about selling as such, it's part of a system. It encapsulates so many different things from distribution and industry, and very much part of that is manufacture and production. So the act of buying an item is the full stop in that process.
It's not in open fields or in large gardens that I see spring arrive. It's in the several scrawny trees of a small city square. There, the greenness stands out like a special gift and is joyful like a warm sorrow. I love these lonely squares tucked between streets with little traffic and themselves with just as little. They are useless clearings, always there waiting in between forgotten tumults. They're a bit of village in the city. I come to a square, walk up one of the streets that runs into it, then back down the same street. Seen from the other direction, the square is different, but the same piece gilds with sudden nostalgia the setting sun, the view I hadn't seen when I walked up the street.
Come into contact with a lot of people who develop different technologies, and so it gives me a palette of sort of ideas in a way in my head. I think, I could use that technology in a certain location, and then form a team, like a design team, and I'll work with them. They'll do all the technical side, and then artistically we get hopefully something very interesting. So we've got the lighting of all the buildings, and then we've got the projection behind me onto Peacock Place, which is a 2 hours 45-minute film looped. The image that you'll see is the old hotel as it was, and in front of it there'll be two figures, Sir Francis Crick, who comes from Northampton, the discoverer of DNA, also George Bernard Shaw, who visited here regularly and discussed liberalism on a regular basis. People used to address members of the public from the old balcony, so these two esteemed figures are going to be brought back to life on the balcony. But of course, as it's an artwork, it won't just be them just looking out. They'll be dancing, doing all different sorts of dances. On the hour, every hour, all the lights change around, and then no 2 hours for the whole year are the same. And then special occasions have got special type of lighting as well, including April the 1st, when it goes wonky. I hope that will be interesting for people, and I'm hoping that people will really enjoy that.